Stephen Mills from UMR, you were muttering that's Labor policy when through quite a bit of Shane Jones' speech. You obviously see quite a bit of congruence.
Yeah, well, his core issue is immigration. It always has been. He's totally identified with that. I think he has to satisfy his supporters on that, and that is way easier with the Labor government and maybe the Greens just, doing the best they can.
Is it though? National would give him that though, wouldn't they?
They might do, but they've been saying all along that it's absolutely, basically New Zealand's economic growth has been based on immigration and New Zealanders selling houses to each other, so kicking away one of those props. I also think it was a bit disingenuous to sort of, praise New Zealand First's campaign. They basically have been in a bit of a kind of death battle, National and New Zealand First, in this campaign. That National really is, one of their big focus has been to collapse the New Zealand First vote in the region. There's a lot of people there really hurting and really angry. But, the campaign against Labor, the tax scare campaign, I think frightened them from New Zealand First.
Well, that's the thing we haven't talked about so much. I mean, there were polls putting him at 15%. There was credible talk about a possible Prime Minister sharing sort of arrangement. And here he is on the night. Yeah, he's there and he's in his balance of power position. But with 9 MPs, 7.5% may even drop a little bit. They tend to come down a touch on the specials. You could see this as a failed campaign from the great campaigner.
Oh, everyone throughout this whole year, all commentators were talking about this being the year of Winston Peters, that they expected him to go up in the polls, to campaign well, and we've all been wrong because he went down just time and time again. And I think mainly it's the Jacinda mania effect, in the sense that she was the change candidate and he had been, successful in taking away some of those Labor voters, really, hadn't he? When they were so down on the line.
He's in position A, isn't he? He's where he wants to be.
Well, that's
he might have got 16 and been irrelevant.
Exactly.
How much do personalities matter, do you think, Bridget? I mean, you could look at Shane Jones. He used to be a Labor MP. He could be a go-between. And people talk a lot about this, don't they? Oh, how much do the personalities count? What do you think in terms of whether that's going to have an impact?
I think personalities count a lot. Do you mean in the negotiations?
Yeah, I do. In terms of, who gets on and...
Well, in the negotiations, it's one thing that's going to be really interesting is obviously Bill and Winston Peters have been around for a long time.
Do you know what that relationship is like?
That's not something I'm particularly aware of, but I do know that they know each other well and they've been through a lot, ups and downs. So I think that could be quite interesting. They're definitely not starting with a fresh slate where Jacinda and Winston may be.
But there's all the other Labor MPs as well. And it's interesting, one of the key jobs, I think the main job that Matt McCartan had when he was working in the Leader's office was to bring those caucuses together and to foster those relationships. And I think he actually succeeded in that, if nothing else. That's what he did actually get them together, because he knew that was the most important thing in the end, was to have those personalities working together. And yeah, I think Winston Peters will actually be much more comfortable in a Labor-led government for that reason. Yeah, I do. And at this stage, who knows? But I would say that National's going to have the edge, definitely, for this, because, like you keep saying, a Labor, Green, New Zealand First government is only just above that majority. And that would be, I think Peters will worry about that, and he will worry about the Greens. So I'd say at this stage, National's got the inside edge. I think there's a 60% chance that they will be able to govern with Winston Peters. There's a 40% chance of a change of government.
I think he was at least slightly preparing the ground for this. In fact, look, for all the sound and fury of this, we've kind of come back to where we've been the whole term, haven't we? That's a choice between National and New Zealand First and Labor and New Zealand First and Greens, despite all the efforts. And I think there's kind of, sort of things that will drive him towards that. I think it will be a more comfortable combination, and it is one that sort of talks about the future as well, that he'll be hitching his party to a government that may last 6 or 9 years rather than one that, who knows, but will probably only last 3 more. So I think there's a lot of complicated factors in it, and in the end it might just be who gives him the best deal.